Rishus T'mar we're continuing our share in Dirshu Bahalacha. Today's Dirshu is B'nai Hashem Kuf Tzadik Zayin Amud Aleph. We're going to be starting on Kuf Tzadik Vav Amud Beis, Siman Shin Mem Hey, and we're going to be starting from Seif Zayin. Before we go into the Halacha, tonight's Tuesday, so we do some Tefillah. The bracha of Asher Yotzar, we started discussing the bracha a little bit last week. The bracha begins, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, Asher Yotzar es ha'adam b'chachma, who created man with wisdom. Now the truth is that these words, Asher Yotzar es ha'adam b'chachma, there's various opinions, seem like very simple words. Asher Yotzar es ha'adam b'chachma, created man with wisdom. But what exactly does that mean? So there's different ways of looking at it. Rashi in Brachas says, Asher Yotzar es ha'adam b'chachma, that the Ribbono Shel Olam created man using chachma, using wisdom. And Rashi says, how do you see the Ribbono Shel Olam's wisdom in creating man? So he says that a man, the human body, is similar to a flask, kinoid. It's like a flask that's mole ruach. It's full of air. And yet, somehow, the body does not deflate. We know that the body inside is not solid, and it's not a vacuum, and there is air inside the body. And the way Rashi says, if you take a balloon or you take a flask and you pierce it, all the air would come out. And yet the body has air in it, and the body has many openings, as we say further on in the bracha, and yet the air doesn't come out. So that's the way Rashi learns. And Rashi is again saying, Asher Yotzar es ha'adam b'chachma, that we're referring to the chachma of the Ribbono Shel Olam, the Neflois HaBorei, how he created man. There's a fascinating piece that I saw. It took me so by surprise when I first saw it, from Reb Shimon Schwab, Zeket Tzadik Livracha. And it's apparent that he understood this Asher Yotzar es ha'adam b'chachma a little bit different. He said, Kinoid mole ruach, the way we read Rashi, is that it's like a flask full of air. Ruach is air. And people look at it and they say, well, is the body really like a flask full of air? And is it really such a kasha that it doesn't deflate? Like, which air do you want to escape? And how would it escape? And this and that. Rav Shimon has a different taich. He says, the guf is Kinoid mole ruach. What does it say in the pasuk by Brias Ha'olam? It says, "Vayipach ba'apav nishmas ruach chayim," that the Ribbono Shel Olam took the guf and he blew into the guf a neshama. Says Reb Shimon that this neshama is a pella. It's a greater wonder than all of the wonders of the Neflois HaBorei, of the guf itself. He says the biggest plea of all is that the neshama, which is a chelik elikim mimal, it's a dvar ruchni, it's something spiritual, it's not a dvar gashmi at all. It has no place in this world, it has no business in this worworld. Gashmias and ruchnias are like oil and water, they don't mix. It's like I tell my kids all the time, I tell them you have to understand that it's like a balance, it's like the old-fashioned beam scale, a balance scale. If you put more gashmias, then the ruchnius goes in the other direction. If you put more ruchnius, the gashmius goes in the other direction. And if anybody has figured out how not to do it that way, I really haven't seen it. The more magushim you become, the more attached, the more aduk to gashmius a person becomes, then the ruchnius goes down. And the more aduk to ruchnius a person becomes, he cares less for gashmius. It's direct proportion. So the fact that the neshama, which is a dvar ruchni, can go into a guf and stay there, he says that's what it means. That Rashi says, Asher Yotzar es ha'adam b'chachma, that the guf is like a noid mole ruach. It's like a flask holding a neshama, and yet the neshama doesn't escape. The neshama should escape, but the neshama doesn't escape. The Ribbono Shel Olam keeps it in. That's Asher Yotzar es ha'adam b'chachma. So that's Rashi. Tosfos has a whole different shot. Tosfos says, Asher Yotzar es ha'adam b'chachma means not that you see the chachma in Hashem, in how Hashem created the guf itself. Tosfos says, when did the Rebbeinu Shalom create man? He created man last of all the brias. Why did he create man last? Because first he created everything that a man needs. Everything a human being needs was there before he put the human being into the creation. Right. He says, that's Asher Yotzar Sa'adam B'Chachma. Really, the Rebbeinu Shalom could have done it a different way. It's like, you go to the restaurant, you sit down, you order your food, and now you have to wait 20 minutes until you get your food. And they plunk all the nonsense down in front of you, the chips and the salsa and the coleslaw, and then when your main dish comes, you look at it, and wow, it looks so good, but you have no room. Can't eat it anymore. He says, the Rebbeinu Shalom could have created man, put him into the Bria, and said, okay, now wait. Soon everything will be ready. You gotta have to wait a couple of days, And Adarabba, maybe then Mensch would appreciate it even more. He went hungry, for a while before he saw everything come. But no, Asher Yotzar Sa'adam B'Chachma. The Rebbeinu Shalom created everything you need. And like the Mefarshim say on Tosfos, it's not only a reference to everything that you need, meaning the food that you need and the air that you need. It's also Asher Yotzar Sa'adam B'Chachma with everything a mensch needs, taka in the guf itself also. Everything that we need is there. It's like the example that I always like to give was whenever I speak about the bracha of Asher Yotzar, I always ask people to close their eyes for a second and picture in their mind a lemon. Picture a nice, beautiful lemon. And now picture taking that lemon and cutting the lemon and look inside at the inside of the lemon. And now imagine taking the lemon and biting the lemon. And biting into the lemon and tasting the lemon. And if any of you just did this, you started salivating. It's automatic. Your salivary glands start to function. Yeah, if you just did that, if you closed your eyes and you imagine the lemon and imagine biting into it, your salivary glands start. Why? Because that's Asher Yotzar Sa'adam B'Chachma. The digestive process begins before you even put the food in your mouth. And if you think about it, if it wouldn't be that way, you'd have a problem. Because if you had to eat your food and with a completely dry mouth, and the process wouldn't start until you got the food into your mouth, it would be very uncomfortable. This way, as soon as you see that sizzling steak, and we don't even know how far the science goes. As soon as the waiter is coming and you hear it, and it comes to your plate, and you see the sizzle, and you see the potatoes, and your brain already knows that you're eating potatoes with onions, and you're eating steak, and you're having green beans on the side, and what you're drinking, and the digestive juices are already flowing, the salivary glands are already starting. So all of this is Asher Yotzar Sa'adam B'Chachma. Lastly, the Marsha says that Asher Yotzar Sa'adam B'Chachma has a whole other connotation, which is Asher Yotzar Sa'adam, he created man B'Chachma with wisdom. He imbued us with wisdom. And the truth is that, we're different than any other nivra. We're different than any other one of the Bruim. We have Atachainin La'adam Das. We have Das. The rest of the creation does not have Das. They function on instinct. They function on a very, very, very basic level of intelligence. But they don't have the intelligence that man has. So that's also Asher Yotzar Es Ha'adam B'Chachma. So I always say that this bracha is a masechta on itself. So we're just scratching the surface. I think we'll continue with it next week. Okay. So we're on Shim Mem Hey, and we're going now into Siv Zayin. Says the Mechaber, Ezehu Rishus Harabim. What constitutes a Rishus Harabim? Says the Mechaber, Rechovos, city streets, Ushvakim, marketplaces. So it doesn't only have to be a derech. Rechovos, when we talk about streets, we think about a derech. Think about a street that people travel on. But it's rechovos, streets, shvakim, marketplaces where people gather. Harechavim sheish esrei ama, they have to be a minimum of 16 amas wide. Ve'enam mikurim, and they cannot be roofed over. Ve'en lahem chayma, and they cannot be walled in. So now let's take a break right away, and let's go down to the Mishnah Berurah Ois Cotton Yud Zayin. Rechayvos. So a rechayv is a city street. And the connotation is it's a street that's within the city. Says the Chavetz Chaim, Udrachim she'ovrin me'ir le'ir, roads that go from one city to another city. So these roads are outside the city. You might think that maybe it's only city streets that are Rishus Harabim, but something that's outside the city limits, maybe that's automatically not a Rishus Harabim. Says the Chavetz Chaim, no. Drachim she'ovrim me'ir le'ir, roads that go from one city to another city, heavy gamkein Rishus Harabim, that also constitutes a Rishus Harabim. Why? Mishum deshchichi bam rabim. Because that's exactly what they're for. They're for the Rabim to go travel from city to city. Now, the Sharetzion and Ois Katan Yud Ches makes sure to tell you, first of all, this is brought down from the Magen of Ramu, Shari Achreinim, V'hu Nevei Amidivrei Rashi. This flows from the words of Rashi. Indeed, it doesn't only flow from the words of Rashi. This is almost an exact quote from Rashi in Eruvin. V'harambam. V'gamu b'dafka, here he makes the point, this is only true in Heim Rechavim Sheish Esrei Amma, K'mo Shekasav Rambam. These roads that go from city to city still have to have the other dinim of Rishus Harabim. They have to be something that Shchichi Barabim, they also have to have the size properties of Rishus Harabim. So they have to be a minimum of 16 amas wide. Zokt the Mishnah Berurah weiter as Katan Yud Ches. Harachavim Sheish Esrei Amma. These streets have to be a minimum of 16 amas wide. Where does that come from? Says the Mishnah Berurah, the Alfinon Midiglei Midbar. We learn this out just like we learn out everything else on Shabbos. All the malachas at Shabbos we learn out from the Mishkan, and we learn out from things that happen in the Midbar, in the Machane. The Alfina Midiglei Midbar, we learn this out from the Diglei Midbar. Shamakam Hiluch HaGalois, the area where they traveled with the wagons that transported the Mishkan. When the Leviim would take down the Mishkan, so the Bnei Merari and Gershon, Kahas, and Merari. The Bnei Gershon and the Bnei Kahas, they had wagons to use to transport the things that they carried. The Bnei Kahas didn't have wagons because Klei Kodesh B'Yadam, they transported the Aron HaKodesh, the Shulchan, the Menorah, they carried, they didn't put it on wagons. But the Krushim, the Urios, all of these things were put on wagons. And the wagons, says the Chavetz Chaim, where they traveled with the wagons, Hayamachzik Sheish Esrei Amma. Those roads had to have a minimum of 16 amas in their width. Now the cheshbon of 16 amas is as follows. The wagons were 5 amas wide. They traveled side by side. Between the two wagons, there was a 5 amma gap. So the two wagons, together with that gap, is 15 amas. Then they left a half an amma on each side, on the outside, so that a Levi could walk in between the wagon and anything else that it might be next to on the side of the road to adjust the load. If the load started slipping, he had to be able to adjust the load. Oh, the Gemara goes through. The Gemara makes a very precise calculation. I can't resist making the point. I always say by Sheva Brachas, and we always vinch on the Chassan and the Kala that they should be zoichet to build a bayis neman. And we always say that the Yiddish home is a migdash ma'at. So I always say it's a very easy bracha to give. Very easy bracha to give. You should be zoichet to build a bayis neman. A big nishma'at. Shchina shrui b'neim. Ishvi isha shchina shrui b'neim. But I always say, anytime you look at the Migdash, at the Beis HaMikdash or the Mishkan, the level of precision was incredible. Everything in the Beis HaMikdash and in the Mishkan was incredibly precise. You learn Masechtas Yuma, and you'll see where the Kohen Gadol walked when he had to go into the Kachei Kachim, and where he walked when he came out of the Kachei Kachim. The Gemara counts the footsteps, how many footsteps it was, and where exactly, the Machlokes, where exactly he walked. There was nothing that was left to chance. There's nothing that was random. So by the Agalos, it gives precise measurements, tells you how big the Agalos were, then the cheshbon of how big the Krushim were. We know the Krushim. Oh no! So I said the Bayis Neman, when you've shown the Chassan V'Kala that they should go build a Bayis Neman and Mikdash Ma'at, they should just realize what that bracha means. It doesn't happen that you just move in, you pay the rent, and you put up a mezuzah, and you have a Mikdash Ma'at. You got to go build a Bayis Neman, and that's done with diktuk and precision. Yeah, right. Only after, it's not a simple thing. So the agolos, how big they were, how big the crushim were, how the crushim laid on the wagons. It's a whole cheshbon. It's not. So this is why you have to have 16 amas. Valkain, says the Chavetz Chaim, if the road is less than this share of 16 amas, Eino Rishus Harabim in Atayra, it's not a midaraisa dik Rishus Harabim, ala Carmelis, it's only a Rishus Rabbanon, it's a Carmelis because it doesn't meet the requirement. Like any other Av Malacha of Shabbos, if it doesn't meet the requirements of what was done in the context of the Malachas HaMishkan, then it's not an Av Malacha. So to over here, it has to meet the context of what was done it has to meet the requirements of what was done in the context of the Mishkan and the Diglei HaMidbar. So it has to be 16 amas wide. What? Where was Rishus HaYachid? Rishus HaYachid were in the Diglei Midbar, in each person's private Rishus HaYachid. You want to know in the Mishkan itself? Well, inside the interior of the Mishkan would have been a Rishus HaYachid. The interior of the Chatzar would be a Rishus HaYachid too.
Over here, we say we learn Rishus HaYachid exactly like this. So when you learn Rishus HaYachid, we say it has to be 4x4, it has to be a Batitza, and it has to be this, and it has to be that.
How do we know that from the Mishkan? Why don't we see that that's derived from the Mishkan? Yeah, it's a good point. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. No, it is interesting that we don't see that it says that this is a Rishus HaYachid because of the Mishkan.
Maybe it's just less than a Rishus HaRabim. Well, that's common, but it has to fall within that category.
Much less.
Well, let's keep it in mind as we go further. It's an interesting question. Let's see. It says, Eis Katan Yud Tes, the Mishnah Berurah says, Ve'ena Mekayrim, a Rishus HaRabim cannot be roofed over. The Diglei Midbar Lo Haya Mekayrim, because the Diglei Midbar wasn't roofed over. Now this was interesting to me. The question has been asked, how about the Anania covered? The Anania covered the Diglei HaMidbar.
Yeah, but modern technology is so different nowadays. Number one, streets are much bigger, even if you're not going to have a lot of people. That's number one. Number two, they make streets now in certain places, I'll not mention, that they mamish put a roof over, they put like a tunnel over the street? Over the street, so that it shouldn't rain or whatever.
Right, but it's not a Rishus HaRabim Daraisa.
So that would not be
Nope, it's not a Rishus HaRabim Daraisa because it's not Daimel Diglei Midbar. So it's not a Rishus HaRabim Daraisa. It could be 100 amas, and it could have who knows how many people, but it wouldn't be Rishus HaRabim because it's not Daimel Diglei Midbar. Okay. Zok the Mechaber weiter. Yes, Zok the Mechaber weiter. So the Mechaber said that one of the requirements is Ein lehem chayma, that it cannot be walled in. Says the Mechaber weiter, Va'afilu yesh lehem chayma. If the Rishus HaRabim is walled in, im heim mefulashim mishar l'shar, if this roadway is opened clean through the city, from one gate of the city to the other gate of the city. So the city has a gate on the west, the city has a gate on the east, and this is a main thoroughfare that cuts right through the city, mishar l'shar. So we'll get to that in a second if it goes curving. We'll get to that in a second. But right now, the way he's laying it out is, this goes clean straight through the city, mishar l'shar, from gate to gate. In mefulashim mishar l'shar, if it's open from gate to gate, and says the Ramah, Ve'ein dal soisav ne'ulais balayla, and the gates of the city are not closed at night. So the gates remain open. So this thoroughfare is always open from one side of the city to the other. Have a Rishus HaRabim, then this is a Rishus HaRabim. Let's see the Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah says, Eis Katan Chaf, Mefulashim mishar l'shar. It's open from one gate to the other gate. Pirush, says the Chavetz Chaim, Sha'arim mechuvanim zeh keneged zeh, that the two gates are directly opposite one another. Now, you asked, how about if the road is curvy? So let's say on the west of the city, the gate is up here, and on the east of the city, the gate is down here, and the road kind of curves through the city. So I can tell you that this morning, I was combing through the Rishonim, and all of the Rishonim that I come to all use the same word. They all say mechuvanim, zeh keneged zeh. They all say that it has to be straight. Now, my thought process as to why it should be that way, that they have to be straight, is because all of these rules, and we'll see in the coming two Mishnah Berurahs over here, the point is that it's a Rishus Harabim because it's the main thoroughfare of the Rabim, and the derech of the Rabim is not impeded. It's the main thoroughfare that goes, from point A to point B, and everybody who wants to get from point A to point B goes on that thoroughfare and it goes straight through. But if it's something that meanders, then by its very nature, right, the closest distance between 2 points is a straight line. If you start meandering, so then some people are not going to follow the road. Some people are going to cut through. It's like us Staten Islanders, we don't go on the, during traffic, we don't go with the Staten Island Expressway because we know that that's not the way to go, right? So we go off and we cut through the back streets and we this and we that. So once something does not go in a straight line, there are going to be people who are going to say, well, straight can cup. Why should I go like this? I got to get over there. I'll go through his backyard and through this and through that, and I'll take the small road. So maybe that takes away from the status of Rishus Harabim. Now, I can't tell you that I did an authoritative, study on it just this morning, but I'm telling you that I went through the various Rishonim, and one after the other, after the other, after the other, they all used this word mechuvanim. And the Mechaber was and the Mishnah Berurah was very careful. He put in the word mechuvanim. He didn't get it from nowhere. He pulled it from the Rishonim. And he uses it again. Look what he says. Pirush ha'sha'arim mechuvanim zeh keneged zeh. They're straight, one opposite the other. V'yesh la'oisei derech ha'mechuven mishar l'shar. And this road that goes straight from one gate to the other gate has kol din Rishus Harabim, all of the other dinim of Rishus Harabim. V'ayin beber halacha. So what he's saying over here is, he's portraying to you, you have a road, and it's foolish, it goes all the way from one side to the other, right? It is walled, so you can imagine this two different ways if you want. Imagine a highway. Even now we could even use Staten Island because they put up those sound barriers, those walls on the side of the highway. I was thinking more like the Prospect Expressway, where you go down between the walls, or the BQE, that section of the BQE where you go down between the walls. So imagine you have a Rishus Harabim, you have a road that has walls it has walls on two sides. So walls take away from Rishus Harabim, but over here the walls are not going to take away from the Rishus Harabim, because while the road might have walls on two sides, it goes clean through the city, one end to the other, and the gates of the city are always left open. If the gates would be closed at night, no more Rishus Harabim. But if the gates are always left open, then it remains Rishus Harabim. That's if you're viewing it as just the road has walls. The other way you can imagine this is, imagine a city, and the city is walled in. And in the center of the city, or on one side of the city, it doesn't have to be the center of the city, somewhere in the city, there is a main thoroughfare, there's a road that's 16 amos wide that cuts through the city from end to end. So the wall is not right by the road, the wall is around the city. Now, because there's a wall around the city, even though this road is 16 amos wide, the wall around the city would stop the road from being a Rishus Harabim. But it doesn't, over here, if it goes straight through the city, end to end, and the gates are always open, so that road will be a Rishus Harabim.
One of the reasons we couldn't do Brooklyn to claim
Ocean Parkway. Ocean Parkway.
One side of Brooklyn to the other.
Right, it goes clean from Avenue Z, from the beach. It goes clean down to it goes right into the Prospect. So that's one of the problems. Okay. Says the Mishnah Berurah weiter. Now he mentions over here, in the end of Ois Chaf, he says, Ayin Bir Halacha. So if you take a look at the Biur Halacha in this page, the Biur Halacha Divra Maskil Imhem Mefulashim Mishar L'Shar. 3 lines into this Biur Halacha, it says V'nireh Pashut. It seems clear and simple. The Gam Kala Rechoy V'Hashuk Yesh Alav Din Rishus Harabim Av Shehu Misrachev Harbe Mikeneged Apilush. This road, the entire road, or if we're talking about a marketplace, some kind of a marketplace that goes all the way through the city, right? But it's easier to imagine a road. Let's say we have a 2-lane highway that's more than 16 amos wide, and it goes straight through the city, end to end. But in middle of the city, it changes from a 2-lane highway to a 4-lane highway. So it gets wider in middle of the city. And then for a mile, it's a 4-lane highway. Maybe over there it's a business area, you have people getting in and getting out. And then it goes back to a 2-lane highway. So in the middle of the city, the road is wider than the gateways at the end of the city are. Now, the Mishnah Berurah, the Chafetz Chaim, just finished saying that it has to be straight and the gates have to be opposite each other, right? So it sounds like the entire width of the road has to be mechuven, has to be straight to the gates on both sides. Says the Chafetz Chaim in the Biur Halacha, no. If in middle of the city the road gets wider, so that extra width is technically not mefulish. There's a picture of the dirshu? Yes, there is a beautiful picture in the dirshu. So you see over there, it's in footnote 20. You see how over there it gets wide in the middle. So technically that extra width is not mefulish, right? If you're standing in that extra width, you can't walk in a straight line to the gate, to the open gate of the city. Still, says the Chafetz Chaim in the Biur Halacha, unquestionably that area would also have a din of Rishus Harabim because that's part of the derech, and the Rabbim uses it. So that would unquestionably still be part of the Rishus Harabim. Sagt the Mishnah Berurah weiter in Eis Katan Chaf Aleph. Ve'ein dal Seisav, the Mechaber said that the gates of the city don't close at night. Ve'im delas achas dinelas palayla. Let's say they close the gate on one side of the city at night, but they don't close the gate on the other side of the city at night. So the Mishnah Berurah says, "Ayla kaman b'simin shin samach dalad b'Mishnah Berurah sif katan vav." And over there, the Mishnah Berurah brings down a whole host of Rishonim who hold that even if they only close one gate on one side of the city, that's enough to take away the designation of Rishus Harabim. Because once you close one gate on one side of the city, there are a lot of people that aren't going on the road anymore at night because they know it doesn't go through. I can't go through. So even closing one gate, the Rishonim say is a problem. If the gates are not closed at night, says the Chafetz Chaim, he's making a diuk in the lashon of the Mechaber. Milashon zeh, from the lashon of the Chaber, mashma, it is implied, that if the gates are not closed, even though there are doors there and they can be closed, but they're not closed, because what did the Mechaber say? The Mechaber said, as long as the gates aren't closed. So that means it's okay if there are gates. And it's okay if technically the gates could be closed, as long as the gates are not closed. So what he's pointing out over here is, V'hu kidei rishayna hamuvel kaman b'simin shin sabach dalad siv beis ayin sham. Over there, there's a machlokes over there that the Mechaber brings down whether or not the mitzius of gates, it could be just the mitzius that there is a gate, already could take away from its ability to be Rishus Harabim. But we're saying over here in the Mechaber, like the day of Rishayna over there, that says no, we're not concerned about the mitzius of gates, as long as the gates are opened. We only have a problem with gates if they're closed and they stop the Rabbim. But if they're never closed, we don't care. Was like what? That they had gates?
They had gates.
Right, and they didn't close them.
I'm saying if it wasn't closed, there was no right.
Yeah.
When it was closed, there was a problem, but if it wasn't closed, there was no right. Even though the gates were there.
Right. Okay. Okay, says the Mechaber weiter. And this is a famous, when you talk about Brooklyn and this and that, here we come to a famous line over here. V'yesh omrim, top of Kuf Tzadik Zayin Amar Aleph. V'yesh omrim, there are those that say, there is an opinion, shekol she'ein shishim ribu oivrim bay b'chol yom, einoi rishus harabim. There is an opinion that in order for an area to be a rishus harabim daraisa, 600,000 people have to travel on that derech every day. Now, it's a little bit of a misnomer when I just said 600,000 people have to travel on that derech. This already gets into Achronim. Where do the 600,000 people have to be? Do the 600,000, like let's say you're talking about Ocean Parkway. So it has to be that 600,000 people travel on Ocean Parkway, or if there are 600,000 people in Borough Park and Flatbush that are served by Ocean Parkway, so that makes Ocean Parkway, let's say, Rishus Harabim Daraisa, because it serves 600,000 people. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that 600,000 people actually travel on that road. Says the Mishnah Berurah, he's cut Chav Gimel, V'yesharimim shekal she'ein shishim ribu svir lahu, this opinion holds, that in this fashion also the Rishus Harabim has to be similar to the Diglei Midbar. Shahayu Sham Shishim Ribu. By the Diglei Midbar, you had 600,000 people. Va'af Shahayu Sham Oid Erev Rav and Ashim V'taf. Even though, what do you mean there were 600,000 people? There were millions of people. Once you count the women and the children and the Erev Rav and the people older and the people younger, so it wasn't only Shishim Ribu. Still, the Chavetz Chaim says, Loi chashvinan ele masha nimtza b'kasav b'ferish. We only count the number that was said in the pasuk b'ferish. We don't have a number. We don't have a number of the total. So we have to use the number that the Torah gave us. If that's the number the Torah gave us, then that's the bar. So the bar is 600,000 in order to be daimel l'diglei midbar. I see I wrote down over here for myself, Dishu footnote 22. What's over there? So the Dishu 22 says, when we call Makayim, ain't tzarech sheyavru sham shishu ribu gvarim. Doesn't have to be 600,000 men. Uvetama davar kasa b'shas teshuvas beis Ephraim, mishum shadu l'meidim b'diglei midbar rakas haminyan hanitzrach k'dei shetechashiv rishus harabim. We learn out the number of 600,000. But we don't take from there that it has to be 600,000 men. It's the number of 600,000. It's interesting, in Dishu footnote 21, have a very interesting bring down. It is, it's human beings, but it doesn't have to be men. Oh, right, men, lafuke, women, or children. No, it is. It's 600,000 people. It's 600,000 human beings. Right, but Kamash Malone, that no, it's just a number. 600,000. It's just a number. Okay. They bring down here a very interesting back and forth. The whole Shaila, the 600,000, how about if, let's say, there's a train going through? Now, the people that are sitting in the cars of the train are in a Rishus HaYachid. The train car is a Rishus HaYachid. The car, depending on the size of the car, that is a Rishus HaYachid. So do people that are in a Rishus HaYachid using that surface, do they count to the 600,000 people? So they bring down over here, in footnote 21 over here, they bring down a whole discussion, Ayin Sham. They bring down a whole machlokes. Some people say yes, some people say no. Ayin Sham, that there are those that say no.
I think I see why. Because they are colors were going, they are colors were Shusayati. And they had people traveling there, and there was,
Yeah, but who says that counted in the 600,000?
Because they only had 600,000 altogether.
No, there were no people on the wagons.
What?
There were no people on the wagons.
They were walking on the side.
Yeah, there were no people on the wagons. The wagons only had a Caleb.
When they took it up.
Oh, right. So they didn't travel on the wagons. Okay.
So nobody traveled on the wagon?
No.
Wasn't allowed to?
No, they didn't travel on the wagon.
Kids on?
No. Well, the Indian halacha, says the Chavetz Chaim, Midas ha-mechaber the kosav de'azu rak b'shem yesh omrim, since the mechaber is bringing this opinion only as a yesh omrim, mashma, the implication is the la halacha lo svir lekein, that the mechaber doesn't hold this way la halacha. And he holds that you can have a Rishus Harabim Daraisa without Shishim Ribu. However, Ein Banu Kayach Limchais Biyad Asaimchin Al Deyazu. We can't be Meicha. Those who are Mekel and who hold that you can have that we don't have a Rishus Harabim Daraisa because you don't have Shishim Ribu, we can't be Meicha against them. The Deyazu Gamkein Loi Das Yechidahi, because this is not in any way, shape, or form a Das Yechidah. Kamosha Kasafti Bibir Alacha. V'chein Tzididu Kama Achroinim. However, he does say V'chol Baal Nefesh Yachmer L'Atzmai. A Baal Nefesh should be Machmer and consider a Rishus Harabim Daraisa, even if there aren't 600,000. V'ayin b'simin Shin Samach Daled b'Mishnah Berurah Sivkat Chesed b'Bir Alacha Kan V'Sham. Now, just 1 second. Yeah, the Bir Halacha in Dibra Maschil v'yesh Omrim Shekol. So, the time of the Yesh Omrim we understand. The Yesh Omrim is coming from, it has to be Daimel Diglei Midbar, and in Diglei Midbar you had 600,000. The Bir Halacha brings down, why does the Deir Rishona argue on this? Why does the Deir Rishona hold you don't need 600,000? So the Bir Halacha says, V'tama Deir Rishona, the reasoning of the Deir Rishona, She'ein lanu lilmain b'diglei midbar, we don't learn out from the diglei midbar, elo le'inyan Rishus Harabim mamish, shaloi teimu kura v'shebiyah she'eshes rayama v'sheteimu falashes. When we want to learn out from the diglei midbar, we learn out the physical facts from the diglei midbar. How was it constructed? It was 16 amos wide. It didn't have a roof. It was straight, one end to the other end of the machane. It was mufulish. So those things we could learn out the properties of the Rishus Harabim itself. We could learn out for the Diglei Midbar, but the number of people that used it, that we don't learn out from the Diglei Midbar. Now, also, just to give you a perspective of this machlokes, these two days, he brings down over here in the middle of this very lengthy Bir Halacha, Dira Maskal Shishim Ribu, a little more than halfway down. He says over here, when I searched through the Paiskim on this topic, I found many of the G'dayla Rishayim that are machmer. Okay, however, first I'll give you those that are mekel. Rishon l'kulam evi zeh b'shem ba'al halachas G'daylos, tabahag. V'rashi be'ervin. Usmag, v'sefer ha-truma, v'rabbeinu meir, v'rakeach, v'taisvis, parag ma'meisha, v'harash, in Erevin, v'harazarua, v'hatur, v'rabbeinu Yeruchim. So you see how many people you have that are mekel, and they hold that in order to be Rishus Harabim Daraisa, you need 600,000. Okay, however, l'uma zeh yesh har b'Rishus Sovereign, she'Rishus Harabim hu min ha-Torah, kisharabim boikim b'makam hazeh, imu foolish. However, you have many Rishonim that hold that if it's an area that the Rabbim uses and it's open from end to end, v'loi b'yinut shishiribu, and you don't need 600,000. Haloi hema, who are these Rishonim? HaRambam, v'haRebbeinu Tam, v'haRamban, v'haRashba, v'haRitva, v'harav Magid, v'haran, v'hagas Mordechai, v'harashbam. Who else here? What? Yes, he had a Taisus. Rabbeinu Tam. Rabbeinu Tam is one of the Bali Taisus. Yeah. So, the laundry list of Rishonim on both sides of this machlokes are immense. And v'chein Rabbi Eliezer Mimitz, b'Seif Yereim, v'harivash, v'hameiri. And the truth is that what's interesting to me is that the more, I'm not chas v'shalom going to say bigger, but the more, I guess, recognized names in the Rishonim, I think you have more in the Machmirim than in the Makilim. So, what? Well, I'm saying, but I'm just in sheer numbers. I'm saying, chas v'shalom, I'm not saying greater. I'm just saying the names, What?
When they pass from the Shulchan Aruch,
Yeah.
the Sfarim, let's say, whatever.
Right.
We always pass like what the Yesh Omrim.
So I thought off the top of my head the Yeshayimrim, but the Mishnah Berurah says over here that since it's only a Yeshayimrim, the Mashmai says that he held like the day of Rishayna. So I had in mind to go check in the Prima Gadim again, the Klalim. Yes. Yeah. Well, they're not. You have the Rambam. The Rambam is in the list of the Machmirim, and the Rosh is in the list of the Megillim. Now, but all the way at the bottom here, yeah, all the way at the bottom, 2 lines from the bottom of the Bir Halacha, the Chavetz Chaim says, "Aval kol yirei shamayim bivada yesh lahachmer la'atzmai, debizmanenu yesh gam ken rishus harabim in Torah." That nowadays we could have a rishus harabim in Daraisa even without shishim ribu. Umemela ein lismach al eruv shel tzuras haPesach. So okay, we'll get to that. But Chalapachas, he is saying, even though earlier in the Bir Halacha, it's very hard because there are places in the Mechaber when the Mechaber says straight out that we don't have a Rishus Harabim min HaTorah. Why? Because of Shisha Ribu, because you don't have Shisha Ribu. But there are other places where the Mechaber says the other way. So this is it's not for nothing that this is such a mavucha to decide which way to go. But all right, it's midaraisa. Right? Yeah. I was kind of chav daled. Oh, by the way, I did want to mention along the same lines. I told you yesterday about Hoitzah being a malacha gerua. So I was talking to my son today in Cleveland, and he told me that his chavrusa had a beautiful pshat also in malacha gerua, and that is that most malachas that we have, the malacha is done to the chayfetz. So boina, you're building something. Saisa, you're destroying something. Burr, you're selecting from the chafetzim over here. But haitzah, you're not creating the chayfetz. You're moving it. That's all you're doing. You're moving it. So he said it's kind of like a manufacturing company. They go ahead and they manufacture chairs, right? So they go and they make chairs. But you know what? If the shipping department doesn't ship the chairs aren't worth anything. Part of it, you have to ship them. So it's a malacha gerua, right? You say, what business are you in? I'm in manufacturing. What do? I ship chairs. Well, you don't manufacture anything. Well, yeah, I work for a chair manufacturing company, and I ship the chairs. I move the chairs. If we don't get the chairs out to the customer, they're going to shver. So it's a malacha gerua in the sense that it's not really a malacha to the thing, but it's very necessary because if you don't ship it, it don't get anywhere. So the same thing, Yitzah is a malacha gerua, but it's as much as it's a malacha gerua, it is incredibly necessary. But I think this is the kind of thing you would say. If you need the chayfetz at home and it's in shul, then if you brought it from shul to the home, it's just the same as if you created it at home. It didn't exist at home. Now it exists at home. One last Mishnah Berurah, he's cut Chav Daled. B'chol yoim, the Mechaber said that you need 600,000 people traveling in this Rishus Harabim. B'chol yoim, every day. Says the Chavetz Chaim, Chipasti b'chol Rishonim, ha'im de b'shita zu. I searched through all of the Rishonim that hold that you need 600,000 in order to be a Rishus Harabim. V'loi nizkar b'devrayim t'nai zeh. And not one of them says that it has to be 600,000 every day. Rak shiyu mitzuyin sham shisha ribu. Just that there have to be 600,000. V'ayin masha kasavdu b'bir halacha b'shem haramban v'haritva. I think that's what he's talking about over here, right? That it has to be serving 600,000 people. Not that 600,000 people have to be using it constantly. Okay, that's where we'll stop.